Hey everyone, I am MSK, aka Master Swag King, coming at you guys today with another video. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which is going to be the 15th and final installment in the DC Extended Universe. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is going to be a sequel to the 2018 Aquaman movie, which during that year went on to gross over $1 billion at the worldwide box office. So it was not a surprise to anyone that Warner Brothers would prioritize getting a sequel going for the highest grossing movie of the DC Extended Universe. If you had told me all these many years ago that the solo Aquaman movie, a part of the DC Extended Universe, which is a universe that was going to be competing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that Aquaman, out of all the characters in the Justice League, would have a solo film reach $1 billion at the box office, I'd have called you crazy. And you must also factor this accolade for Aquaman in as well, because I'm pretty sure a lot of us know that Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, pretty much by all accounts that everyone is talking about right now, whether you're kind of for this movie or against this movie, if you've been analyzing the current DC Extended Universe, movie landscape with their recent movies that have been coming out just this year in 2023, we had Shazam! Fury of the Gods that came out. In my own personal opinion, wasn't that good of a movie as compared to, my favorite movie of the DCEU, which was obviously, Shazam, actually, which came out back in 2019. The sequel comes out, completely bombs. And then you also have The Flash, starring Ezra Miller. That came out, that completely bombed. Then we just recently had Blue Beetle come out. That's kind of still somewhat struggling at the box office, and for the most part, from everything I've seen, probably will just maybe struggle to just break even or just barely get any type of making money, not even just profit at all. So looking at the recent DCEU movies that have come out in 2023, and then all of the other DCEU movies that have come out in 2021, 2022, and then we're looking at this year, and it's like, man, the DCEU movies somehow have been so bad to the point where the general audience, just the casuals, have just been like, I just don't care for this anymore. The movies constantly take in less and less and less money, because I know a lot of people have prioritized that it was all just kind of like James Gunn and that announcement for the DCU, which is going to be starting in technically 2024 with Gods and Monsters, and looking at that and going, well, that kind of right there was the final nail in the coffin right there. But I would attribute that this has been kind of an ongoing thing for quite some time. I mean, you look at years like 2019, and I love that first Shazam movie. I do. I think it's really, really good. But you look at the numbers that movie made, and you're already thinking to yourself, this is not a good sign here. Birds of Prey comes out, pretty much flops. After that, I mean, Wonder Woman 1984 and The Suicide Squad were released during the pandemic period, so I personally think they should have just waited to release those movies in 2022, but, they ended up not doing so well. Wonder Woman 1984 was bad. I love the Suicide Squad movie that James Gunn did, actually, and in 2022, Black Adam came out. That failed for the most part. I mean, that couldn't even hit $400 million at the box office, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is like the biggest movie star in the world right now, and then you have, the 2023 DCEU movies, and you could even look back as far as maybe the Justice League movie that Joss Whedon did, that came out back in 2017 when he took over from Zack Snyder, and that whole debacle in and of itself, and a Justice League movie making $630 million, this franchise, given all of its ups and downs, the constant corporate, meddling with a lot of problems going on, them trying to course correct, and what's really weird about this movie is that this movie is going to be, some kind of weird epilogue in the DCEU, because I personally feel like they should have just bumped up this movie and had this movie come out, obviously, before The Flash. I think The Flash should have gotten delayed until the end of the year, and this universe should have just ended with The Flash, because if you guys have seen The Flash, you can kind of tell that maybe, given how Barry kind of reversed time in that movie, you could just kind of use that as a gateway of okay, time was reset and then things just ended up happening. You could just leave in some BS like that, right? So all the drama surrounding, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So we have things from the Amber Heard camp. I mean, James Wan really hasn't talked about a lot of this stuff yet. I mean, he gave an interview to Entertainment Weekly, I think, and that's what we're going to be prioritizing today right here for you guys. And the Amber Heard situation is really weird, not because she isn't just a terrible person, but it's just more like, if the biggest indicator for a lot of people as to the reason why The Flash didn't do so well, well, look at it this way. If The Flash didn't do so well by what a lot of you say, which is because of Ezra Miller, well, then how do you think this movie's going to do when people know that Amber Heard's in it? Amber Heard had that big trial with Johnny Depp where it was pretty much kind of unanimously seen that she's kind of just a, mentally ill psychopath, right? So then you had this movie constantly getting delayed, the film's budget being ballooned, because we know when a movie's delayed, the budget gets ballooned. This movie's already probably upwards in like the $340 million category. I'm pretty sure it has the same budget now as Fast X did. And we know that Fast X did pretty so-so at the box office given its actual budget number, right? And the amount of money Warner Bros. Has put into this movie, because they really want a sequel to their highest grossing solo movie ever to do well. I mean, for Warner Brothers, I just only could imagine that they want this movie to hit over $1 billion at the box office. And I'm not saying that it can't do that. I'm not saying that it won't, but given the landscape of the DCEU movies that have come out in 2023, it's not looking so good for this movie. And if this movie ends up just bombing out of the box office and not doing so well, I mean, that's going to look pretty bad. So either this movie could be one of two things. This movie could end this universe off on a high note with a good, solid movie that makes a lot of money, or it could be a pretty bad movie that ends up just flopping. Those are the two kind of areas, we're in right now. And, if people really feel like these movies coming out this year are just honestly not worth it because the universe is getting rebooted, I mean, what indicator would you have to watch this one either? And I've talked about this in previous videos, I put on the channel and my podcast, is that, all the enthusiasm for these movies have just not been there. I think it's superhero fatigue, but I also think it's just general enthusiasm that is just not there anymore with these films. And the first Aquaman movie, watched it, liked it, I didn't love it, but it was all right. It's a solid movie, all things considered. I would prefer if like Arthur Curry was, blonde hair, blue eyes. But as you guys know, Hollywood doesn't really cast like, these superhero roles in their, comic book form, obviously. Even just from facial features like hair and eye color, right? So here we go. James Wan confronts Aquaman to reshoot rumors, and Amber Heard claiming her role was pared down. The sequel never prioritized Mira. So it was the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial where Walter Amada came, and the reason why that he said they knocked down her role in the movie was because that she just had no chemistry with Jason Momoa. He didn't really blame her per se, but it was more like, because people had asked him, well, I think the judge had asked him, like, hey, well, how did you make it work with the first movie? He said just, editing and movie magic, which pretty much meant that they sliced up scenes and reshot scenes in a way that made it look better, right? So one of the main reasons why Walter Amada, who was the previous, president of Warner Brothers and just DC Films, not Warner Brothers, was that she just had no chemistry with Jason Momoa, and you could kind of clearly see that in the last movie, actually. And I don't really think the sequel should prioritize her. I mean, they would have obviously have gotten together from the last movie, right? But Amber Heard as Mira, she was meh, honestly. I didn't hate her like a lot of other people did. I just thought she was just kind of meh for the most part. It's crazy because the first Aquaman movie had Aquaman's two main villains, Black Manta and Ocean Master, and I thought those two just knocked it out of the park, obviously. I think those two are some of the best villains of the DCEU, just in general. But also, when I'm releasing this video, the first trailer for Aquaman and Lost Kingdom is coming out, and they have really not marketed this movie well at all. I mean, this movie, the first trailer should have been out a while ago. I mean, guys, this movie's coming out in December. We're kind of midway through September. I mean, does that kind of show that they don't really have too much faith in this movie, given the fact that they are just now putting out its first trailer? Because that would mean that the second trailer will be coming out sometime near like the 1st of November, right? Like this just feels such like late marketing from them because they already kind of know this universe is over, you know? So they're gonna waste like so many millions of dollars in marketing for a movie that they know doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And I'm not always arguing that to a certain extent. It's more like watching a movie and just enjoying it should be the utmost, priority, right? Going to a movie, watching it, and enjoying it. But for those people that kind of want a continued continuity, what's the reason for watching this? Honestly. Ahead of the official trailer for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom launching September 14th, director James Wan spoke to Entertainment Weekly about many of the rumors circulating the DC sequel. The tentpole has been plagued by reports of a disastrous post-production that allegedly included 3 rounds of reshoots of as the film got caught in the middle of the executive overhaul at DC Studios, which is now run by James Gunn and Peter Safran. The 2 co-CEOs are spearheading a new DC universe outside of the one Aquaman 2 was conceived for. I know it's weird that James Wan had this quote going around that this is not part of the DCEU. It's like, yes, it is. Why would this not be part of the DCEU? It's literally a sequel to the other one. Like, what? I hope that was just some sort of fake leading headline, because that wouldn't make any sense, Well, this is the quote that he had was, "The tricky thing early on was not knowing whether Aquaman would come out first or come out after The Flash. I mean, The Flash should have came out last, honestly. This should have come out way before. So we just had to be prepared," Wan said. "At the end of the day, the best thing I would say about this movie is that it is not connected in any way to any of those films. That's the bottom line." I mean, I think he's meaning that in the sense of like, you wouldn't have to kind of watch the other movies to understand this one. Because to be fair, you'd only really need to just watch the first Aquaman film to kind of just get yourself ready for this movie as well. But no, this is for sure connected to those other films. I mean, this is literally taking characters from the previous Aquaman movie and using them here, right? I mean, I'm not gonna obviously like maybe say I know what's in his mind, but I'm pretty sure it's just from the actual movie point of view. Reports claim that Batman actors such as Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton were brought in for Aquaman 2 reshoots, but they also appeared in The Flash. Does that mean Wan didn't need to utilize Batman after all, since The Flash first? That's a no comment right now, he said. You're going to have to wait for the movie to come out. I mean, given how they literally like changed up the end credit scenes for like Shazam 2 and The Flash, even though they had like endings for The Flash that were way better than the one that we got, I think they should just cut the Shazam 2 post-credit scenes in general. They don't really matter anyway. I just don't know why they kept them there, honestly. But even if Ben Affleck is in Aquaman 2, like, does it really matter, According to Entertainment Weekly, Wan did not dispute a claim that Gunn weighed in on the Aquaman sequel, now that he's in charge of DC Studios, but Wan added, "I've known James since way back, right? We're horror guys, and so I'm definitely open to ideas. But at the end of the day, this is my movie." So, I don't know. I mean, reshoots happen all the time. I'm pretty sure James Gunn had some level of say in a reshoot potentially. Wan also insisted that reshoots on Aquaman 2 were no different than any other major Hollywood tentpole. "We have big actors in this movie, and everyone's schedule is really hard," he said. "So we had to break up our shooting schedule into sections. We'll shoot a bit here now because this actor's available, and then we'll do another shoot because this guy's available." People are like, "Oh, they're doing a whole bunch of different shoots." No. If we actually combine them all together, it's actually not that many number of days at all. Okay, so maybe, as you guys know, the media tends to kind of blow things out of proportion, right? I'm just saying, that's just how I've seen it based on what he said. Wan was also asked about Amber Heard, who plays Mira in the comic book film franchise. During her 2022 defamation trial involving Johnny Depp, Heard claimed in court that Warner Brothers did not want to include me in the Aquaman sequel due to the fallout of her divorce with Depp. She said her role in the sequel was pared down and action scenes were taken away. Yeah, she did say that. That's correct. She did say that. I remember. According to Wan, however, the sequel was never meant to focus on Mira and Aquaman the way the first movie did in 2018. He said Aquaman 2 always prioritized Aquaman's relationship to his villainous half-brother Orm, over his one to Mira. I mean, if she was told up front that that was going to happen, then the way she made it sound like in court, I mean, Amber Heard, after that trial, has proven to be a pretty huge liar, actually. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure James Wan is telling the truth here. I mean, she's literally proven to be a liar, actually. I always pitched this to everyone from the get-go, Wan said. The first Aquaman was Arthur and Mira's journey. The second movie was always going to be Arthur and Orm. So, the first was a romance action adventure movie. The second one is a bromance action adventure movie. We'll leave it at that. Yeah. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I don't think people really want to see Mira or aka Amber Heard in the sequel anyway, you know, given that after what happened with the Johnny Depp trial. I mean, you could do the whole, like, separate the artist from artist, but given how we saw with The Flash, probably won't be a good idea to do, right? As for a potential third Aquaman movie, Wan confirmed that we've set up certain things in a good place in the second movie that you can definitely draw upon in a third. However, Wan stressed that he has no plans or stories for Aquaman 3 at this time. Will he direct? I don't know. He said, "This film has taken up so much of my life, so much of my time. All I can think about now is taking a long break." Yeah, like, there's gonna be no Aquaman 3. Let's be honest here. James Gunn is rebooting the entire thing, and that's something that the media always tends to do with these, like, sequels to, like, these first movies. Is there gonna be a third movie? It's like, do we really need a third movie for Aquaman? And given how special effects heavy that first one is, and it looked beautiful, honestly, the special effects look great. I hope the special effects look as good for Aquaman and Lost Kingdom as well. But yeah, I doubt there's going to be an Aquaman 3. I think James Wan, after this, is just going to go back to doing, like, you know, horror movies, actually. I mean, he did Malignant, but, you know, that was actually not that good in my own personal opinion. I thought it was pretty bad for the most part, right? So, what do you guys think about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? Do you guys think that it was a good idea to knock down Amber Heard's role in Aquaman 2? I mean, she was a factor in the first movie, you know, she played her role, but does she really need to have that much screen time in Aquaman 2? I mean, like, the first movie didn't have that great of a supporting cast, to be honest here. I mean, William Dafoe was just amazing. Like, he, I think, did good. Just Jason Momoa just did good in general. I just don't think you need Amber Heard's Mira in general. And I think if you look at the backlash The Flash had from just having Ezra Miller as the main leading role for that movie, and how much that potentially impacted the Flash's box office, you know, I think this was the right idea. And this was an idea planned in advance too, so it's nice to see that come to fruition too. But yeah, I do hope Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom makes a lot of money at the box office. I hope this could be like what ends the franchise off on a high note, like both Aquaman sequels making the most money out of the franchise, which would be just a crazy thing. Like, if you had told me that could be a possibility, I'd have called you crazy. But yeah, will I be doing a trailer reaction to the first Aquaman and Lost Kingdom trailer? Maybe I might. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I most likely will, so I'll give my full thoughts on that tomorrow, obviously, when I get off work. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Like, comment, and subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. I am MSK. This is Online Cinema Entertainment, your one place for online cinema. All right, see you guys later. Deuces. Peace.